What a wild Wednesday we had in the association. LeBron James continuing to break records, mayhem in Philadelphia, and Steph Curry with an all-time night-night celebration. But out of all of these, here is the image of the night, right? Steph Curry's face. This was after Draymond Green was ejected less than 5 minutes into the Golden State Warriors game against the Orlando Magic. It sparked plenty of questions about if the rest of the organization feels the way Steph's face looks in this photo. So let's show you exactly what went down here. The Golden State Warriors on the second night of a back-to-back in Orlando. Danny Green, Marc Spears here with me as well. Watch Paolo Banchero really goes into Draymond's chest there. Draymond, Danny, starts his discussion with the refs early.
Not a good start for them. I don't like it. And he knows this. The bigger picture, he's got to be smarter and understand what's at risk.
Well, that advice is good, but it wouldn't take place immediately. Draymond continuing his conversations. You can see here he was issued a technical foul here, but the conversation, Marc Spears, continued after that. Draymond keeps talking some more.
This is game 35. He's missed 35 games. You might as well call this 36 because this is so early in the game to get tossed. The Warriors just don't need that right now. They've missed too much Draymond this season.
Well, he's the only player with multiple first quarter ejections over the last 20 seasons. You can see here Steph Curry shaking his head, clearly distraught, upset. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it really appears that he has a lot of emotions here, not happy at all with what Draymond did. Here was Steph Curry on this ejection.
All I say is we need him. He knows that. We all know that. So whatever it takes to keep him on the floor and be available, that's what's got to happen.
Well, he wasn't available for the rest of the game, but guess who was? Steph Curry. In the fourth quarter here, the Warriors up by 3. Steph carving through the defense, lays it up high off the glass there, extends the Golden State Warriors lead. And here in the next possession, waning seconds, Steph Curry, dagger 3. And then he hits the extended night-night celebration. We had to put a timer on it for nearly 6 seconds. Steph had 17 points, 10 assists. The Warriors win 101-93. Draymond Green, of course, he took to his podcast after the game.
Just can't happen. I said what I said. I deserved to get kicked out at that point. And what I said, if I'm all the way honest with y'all, I kind of was trying to turn my body and angle and go to the bench. And I said what I said like a little too soon before angling my body to the bench. But yeah, it just can't happen. And, you know, like we need to win games. So, like I said, not going to overreact like, oh man, like stuff is never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. Like I know where I am. I understand what I'm doing moving forward. And in my position, just make sure that that's the exception and not the rule.
Just heard Draymond, Zach, say that his justification for what happened, he also said over and over again he's not going to overreact. But how do you react to this?
The only words I wanted to hear there and the only ones I remember were, it can't happen, because it can't. He's missed too many games this season, and he's too good. This is what drives me crazy about this. He's still one of the 10 best defensive players in the NBA. He'd make one of my all-defensive teams if he had played 65 games. He won't get there because he's been suspended from a bunch of games and ejected from a bunch of others, and the Warriors' margin for error is like this. Here come the Rockets fighting for every game, running teams off the floor. Draymond is lucky the Warriors won last night in Orlando. They're lucky Andrew Wiggins played his best game in a long time. Draymond is lucky, that is. And look, I didn't like this at the time. One of my least favorite things of the season was Draymond, when he got suspended for the Yusuf Nurkic thing, saying afterwards, well, that really helped our team. It turned out that was a helpful thing for our team because it gave Steve Kerr leeway to play Jonathan Kuminga more, and look what we found. It didn't help the team. There's no spinning this. They'd be better with him, and if they miss the playoffs and they finish 10th and lose in the play-in, if they finish 11th because this feisty Rockets team catches them,
right,
a large part of the blame is going to be on all the games that he missed. There's no way to spin it. It can't happen.
Marc, how willing are the Warriors? Maybe the $100,000 contract was the answer to how willing are the Warriors to continue to deal with these outbursts. But the look on Steph Curry's face, I've never seen anything like that.
I think that was the icing on a very dry piece of cake. You know,
Not the
this
dry
could
cake.
be. I think this could be the most frustrating season of Steph's career, right? I mean, they were a round away from the conference finals now, and now they could barely make the playoffs. And you don't think Memphis is going to be better next year, right? You don't think Houston's going to be better next year. San Antonio is going to be better. You know, there's no margin for error. And I think the problem is it's not just Draymond. What did they do to help Steph?
Right.
They didn't do anything. He asked for help. They didn't get him. They weren't willing to trade Curry's contract. CP's contract. You know, they didn't trade Kuminga. They didn't trade Wiggins. They didn't get him any help. And these are the last days of a super amazing career, and the Warriors are wasting it. They're not helping them. Draymond's not helping them, and that's why think you see the frustration.
know Dre has had some issues and he's been working on them, and they say it takes 21 days to build new habits, maybe longer for Draymond. I talked about this with my co-host on my podcast. That was the only reason why I know this. But yeah, Draymond at this point in his career, he should know, and being married with kids, at some point in this time in your age, it doesn't matter being right. You can't keep arguing with the referees. You can't keep trying to prove your point. You gotta just let things go and see the bigger picture. Steph's reaction, I'm not going to say he was crying, but it is alarming to see him that emotional. Yeah. And it could be other things that's going on outside the court for him, and everything came all at once. And he was emotional even when they won. You could see he was excited because this is a game. Orlando's been really good this year.
The chair.
Yeah. Kick the chair.
That's not a typical outburst.
What was the chair's problem? The chair didn't do nothing to that man.
No, but he was excited. It's just a big emotional game. You see all the emotions coming out of him. And because this was a big win, Orlando is a good team this year. They're on the brink of playing. Houston's playing really well. They're catching up. But seeing Steph's reaction there lets me to believe that there's something bigger going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. There had to be a conversation about Draymond's actions. If he continued them, that something bad is going to happen. So the reaction of Steph was not a good one. I won't say he was crying, but he did look really emotional, and it's a concern.
To me, he looked fed up. Yeah. And again, I do not want to put words in Steph Curry's mouth, but that is the look of someone who is fed up, who has had enough, who has seen this story before and is tired of seeing it, particularly because, as you said, Marc, these are the final days, years, months, however you want to put it, on Steph Curry's prime. He is not getting any younger.
No.
So if he is fed up, Zach Lowe, what does that mean? Because Golden State has already committed a $100 million four-year contract to Draymond Green. And they are limited, at least in what they can do right now.
Well, they're trying to keep the focus on the court because come hell or high water, the core of this team still thinks we can catch a rhythm. We can do something special. And the bottom line is they're fighting an uphill battle just to catch a rhythm and get in the playoffs and maybe draw the Denver Nuggets in the first round, which is a nightmare for anybody. When you're in that situation as an organization, it is inevitable that half of your vision, a quarter of your vision, will be on next season and the season after that. And this team has to figure out, because as long as Steph Curry is in Golden State, they are going to try to win. And they have to figure out, can we win at a higher level next season around Steph Curry? What does that look like? Does Draymond Green fit into that vision? Because if Draymond Green loses Steph Curry, the number of ride or die allies he's got there is going to dwindle pretty fast. But here's the problem. The rest of the league has watched this. I'm not sure how many teams are sign me up for 3 years and $75 million more of that as Draymond crosses age 35. He's still a great player, but it's got to be the exact right kind of team. It needed the exact right kind of player, and that's a tough needle to thread. It's a tough spot for the Warriors.
You mentioned the loss of allies. Marc, you know Draymond better than anybody, at least at this table. Has he lost that?
For Steph to respond that way, I mean, they dapped after the game. There was love after the game, but I think we'll see this offseason. Well, we'll see how this season finishes. I think this has to be it for Draymond. There can't be anything else. The margin of error for this team is razor thin. Houston is doing miracle things right now.
Yeah, 10 in a row.
And, at some point, and I know Draymond really well, talk is cheap, right? It sounds good, but they need him on the floor, period.
Yeah, he's losing his guys. I mean, I'd have to say they're losing a lot of confidence in him. I wouldn't say respect, somewhat. He can turn it around. There's obviously, people can forget when you do successful things and you win and you help win. Yeah. But if this happens again,
35 games.
There's only not that many games left. If this happens again toward the end of the season and something happens where they don't make the play-in, or if they're in the play-in and they lose and they go home early, there's going to be some conversations where Draymond might have to be moved.
Draymond